12 years later, a Louisville mother is begging for answers. Her son, Brian Lewis, was killed in his home on this day back in 2012. And the family says they're still left without answers. Hello, and thank you for joining us here at 6:30. I'm Alex Dieterer. This afternoon, friends and family of Brian Lewis gathered for a memorial. They say there is a $10,000 reward for anyone who comes forward with details. WHAS11's Alexandra Goldberg and photojournalist Aspen Hester spoke with Lewis's mother today, who says as the years go by, it's tough to hold out hope for justice.
12 years later, without answers, without his murderer in jail, how does it feel to potentially be walking among the suspect who murdered your son?
I get scared to go outside. For a long time, I wouldn't go outside. Over the years, I've just learned to go do what I have to do and come back home.
12 years and no answers. 21-year-old Brian Lewis was killed in his home on October 20th, 2012. His mother, Rhonda Mars, says the only thing she knows about the case, now cold, is that 7 gunshots rang off that night in her own home, killing Lewis. On the 12th annual memorial of her son's death, she says each year gets harder and harder.
I've kind of lost hope. After 12 years, it just, I ask myself every year, why do you keep doing it? Why do you keep continuing this? Why keep putting myself through it? But at the end of the day, that's all I have left.
In Louisville, Alexandra Goldberg, WHAS 11, on your side.
LMPD's cold case is handling the investigation. Anyone with information should call the anonymous tip line. That number is 574-LMPD. You can also use their online portal. New tonight, LMPD is investigating after they found a body this morning in the Russell neighborhood. Police say just before 9 this morning, they responded here to reports of a person down in the roadway on 18th Street near Muhammad Ali Boulevard. When officers arrived, they found a man who they say was obviously dead, but had no obvious signs of injuries. LMPD's homicide unit is investigating while the coroner's office works to determine the cause of death. Also new tonight, Elizabethtown police have identified the man shot by police inside Baptist Health yesterday early in the morning. Police say 39-year-old George Lee Jr. remains hospitalized in critical condition. Elizabethtown officers say Lee fired shots near the emergency room of Baptist Health Hardin around 5 yesterday morning. When officers arrived to the scene, they quickly made contact with him before one officer fired his weapon, hitting Lee. No other injuries were reported during the incident. Well, we are now just 2 weeks away from Election Day, and those in Jeffersontown will be voting on who they want to represent them on their city council. Today at Bud's Tavern, 9 candidates pitched their ideas for why voters should pick them. Each candidate had 5 minutes to introduce themselves and an additional 3 minutes to describe how they would improve the city. The event was well attended, and those we spoke with tell us they want council members focused more on the next generation.
I'm not looking for someone to say what they are good at and what they've done. I want to hear, I want you to tell me what you are going to do and what your plans are.
I'm looking for somebody that's looking out for people like me who live in an apartment, who work a middle-class job and are just trying to get by.
Election Day is on November 5th. Early no excuse in-person voting right here in Kentucky starts October 31st and runs through November 2nd. Early in-person voting began in North Carolina this week, while thousands of potential voters still lack power and clean running water as they head to the polls. In Asheville, it's been 3 weeks now since Helene decimated remote towns throughout Appalachia and killed nearly 250 people. But despite this catastrophic damage, all but 4 of the polling places in the hardest hit areas opened Thursday. And voters took advantage, even as many wait for potable water to return and businesses to reopen.
It is hard to even really think about voting for some people because, some people, if they've lost their entire house or family members or something like that, then I'm sure voting is one of the last things on their mind.
No, I'm really devoted to cast my vote, but I think a lot of people feel that way. But obviously, anytime you have something this cataclysmic, it's going to disrupt people's lives.
And as many continue to wait for basic necessities, here in Kentuckiana, many organizations are continuing to send help. Over in Bullitt County, emergency services are hosting their own drive to gather supplies for those impacted by both Helene and Milton. I spoke with Kentucky organizers and a Louisvillian still dealing with the aftermath at her Florida home and heard from them why it's so important to continue sending resources. Hundreds of miles away, hurricane victims continue recovery efforts, picking up their lives after 2 hurricanes made landfall just days apart from one another.
If this was our community and we was impacted that bad as Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Milton took place, we would be wanting help as well.
Bullitt County Emergency Services knows the recovery efforts don't stop once the hurricane leaves land. First responders are holding a hurricane collection drive, doing their part even from states away.
We are in the first responder emergency services business for a reason. Even though we are helping outside of our community, we still serve our community day in and day out. But let's take it to the next level. Let's try to help those that are still in need.
Helping those like Louisville native Karen Cumbest, who has been cleaning up her home in Englewood, Florida since Hurricane Helene swept through, followed closely by Milton.
We had 44.5 inches of water. We originally thought it was just surge.
She shared these photos from outside her home where you can see the piles of damaged and ruined furniture and home appliances.
So the washing machine, the refrigerator that's on the first floor, some furniture, because again, we're still rebuilding from Hurricane Ian. I mean, everything is just gone.
The recovery for hurricane victims in Florida, Tennessee, and the Carolinas is expected to take years or even a decade.
When the impact happens, so many people want to help then and there, but what happens 2 to 3 weeks down the road? What happens to a month down the road when resources are still needed? So that's what this project is basically about, is making sure that those remember that they are not forgotten about.
Kentuckians banding together to show once again that support from the bluegrass knows no bounds.
Don't lose hope. People out here are still remembering you.
Bullitt County Emergency Services is collecting things like gas cans, hot hands, brooms, and flashlights. They'll be collecting donations through October 28th. If you'd like to donate, you can drop off your items at your local firehouse.